Welcome back to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex and today we're taking a look at Death's Door on the Nintendo Switch, a game blending an old school Zelda vibe with a dash of the Souls genre, but is it worth your time? Well, hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we will do here, join our growing family, and let's get started. So story, and here you are a crow with an honest job, but this is to reap souls. It's a unique premise. It finds you moving between what is a hub world and fantasy world. There's one key rule though to your job that is essential. When you enter the plane of existence, you age, you risk death, so be quick. Now this would normally be fine if you didn't find yourself in what is a desperate situation. That situation, your assigned soul was stolen, your life is ticking away until you find it, track down the missing soul, the thieves who stole it, and enter a world where creatures grow beyond the norm. It's relatively simple stuff, but where it excels is introducing a wide cast of characters and touching on themes of loss, love and humour. This world then, it's connected by doors, portals, and yeah, good stuff. Really impressed with the writing overall. It kept me locked in from beginning to end. So gameplay, and essentially we have a blend of isometric action-adventure with a Souls-like sensibility. Souls-like then in the theme that multiple paths can be established through this world. It's not really punishing in the sense of, stamina, but rather expect to have specific checkpoints in the way of doors and you'll be unlocking those shortcuts. The core mechanic though, hack and slash gameplay and a whole lot of exploration. Along the way then you'll find multiple weapons at your disposal and you can even dodge roll out of harm's way. Alongside your melee weapons then expect a sidearm of long range. That could be something like a bow and arrow or magic. Your core weapon is selected from the pause menu, but sidearms, they are conveniently attached to the D-pad as signified in the top left corner of the screen. These not only allow for specific attacks on your foes though, but work into the environmental puzzles and you'll face more than a few. This is really the only area where stamina comes into play. Long range attacks are actually limited by a counter under your health bar in the top left of the screen. If you run out of secondary attacks, you need to rebuild this meter. To do this, you need to land some melee attacks, whether that's against enemies or items within the world. An early example, just some mushrooms that are kind of sitting around. It's an extremely clever system though. It has a whole lot more use than just those attacks. As I said, things like setting fires with your bow and arrow, maybe use arrows to connect one location to another. How about using a fire attack to get rid of cobwebs blocking your way? Alongside these attacks then expect to be leveling up at a very basic level with 4 key areas. That's strength, dexterity, haste and magic. This will impact everything from movement speed to attack power to range as well. It's good stuff, and while as I said it's simplistic, with progression the challenge will dial up and these areas will become absolutely essential. There's also hidden items throughout this world that help your character, but those are best left discovered for yourself. Where Death's Door really excels for me though is in its enemy design and boss moments. While location to location, naturally we see a whole lot of repeats, they are still unique. From exploding enemies to melee to range to randomized patterns, I consistently felt on the edge of my seat, and each challenged me by asking me to mix up my gameplay style to understand what was about to come, but also then the boss moments completely oversized and absolutely incredible. Accompanying this then is the world design. The layouts are truly clever. They never stop you too much in your tracks, but you'll definitely find a few puzzles to kind of get that brain going. Just unique environmental puzzles that are typically set around the theme of that level and boss. My only issue with the exploration, there's a few areas that demand you almost platform. You can't actually jump though, and yeah, it's maybe a little bit awkward. Also, I will say a few maybe go on just a little bit longer than they need to. It could also be a complaint then at the same time that the combat rarely changes from beginning to end outside of the weapon choice, but for me, that's kind of the beauty. It's not asking you to consistently learn something new, rather it demands you master something relatively simplistic and use it to its full effect. I mean, after all, you basically have a light and heavy attack at your disposal and that's about it. But that's also the beauty of good enemy and attack pattern design, it remains fresh throughout. Frame rate then is finally where the compromise occurred to get this running on the Nintendo Switch. It's a little unique. On Series X high-end PCs you're going to find 60 frames per second. On the Switch 37 to 39, kind of random, but honestly, for the most part, it still felt fantastic. There was, however, a few moments, for full transparency, where I sprinted through an area. I ended up with maybe 15 enemies or so tailing me, and at this point, when I passed them again later in the level, because it doesn't actually get rid of these enemies, I did find it could cause a drop to the high 20s. That said though, like 95% of the time it felt smooth to me. That's more than enough, and I'm sure you'll see that for yourself in the footage. They've compromised but targeted something that still looks and feels more than good enough outside of me playing poorly and ending up with an army after me. Overall then, for gameplay, Death's Door was a game when it hit the Xbox I pleaded it needed to come to the Nintendo Switch. I am happy to see that happen. More impressively though, it's here with very little compromise. It plays exactly as it should for the most part, and it is as incredible as ever. Graphically then, it's stunning. The transition to the Switch appears to have been effortless. It's bringing along with it intact its unique, almost low poly style, with a dash of texture here and there to really make things pop. As you hunt these souls as well, it will take you from cemeteries to more overgrown jungle-like areas to dungeons and mansions, each unique and each stunning in their own way. Animations then, they are simplistic but in keeping with the character designs, and I particularly like our hero and all the animations that come along for the ride. I also really like the enemy variety as well. Handheld, it's for sure a pulled back camera angle then in this one, so it can be, I will say, a little bit small at moments, but it's not a struggle thanks to what is a very crisp image. Jumping between them, the realm where you're hunting souls and head office, so to speak, the black and white visual shift is simple as ideas go, but extremely striking. So audio finally, and the sound effects are solid. Weapons each have a unique effect and enemies have a nice variety to them. Not a huge amount to the worlds directly, but I think it captures everything it needs to. There's also no voice acting at all. It wins though in the soundtrack department. It's mostly piano lines and a dash of orchestral, but it really captures all the emotions faced by our lead hero, and it's one I wouldn't actually already do listen to offline outside of the game. It's available over on Spotify. David Fenn, the composer, did a fantastic job. It's a 50-track album, absolutely worth your time. So the final verdict, and on the Switch, there's been some compromises, mainly the drop from 60 frames per second to the high 30s for what I would call the majority of the experience, high 20s at times if you play poorly like me. The gameplay though, few games for me can match it in 2021. The hack and slash is quality, simple but effective and also strategic. Enemies are consistently challenging but fair. The world design and puzzles, again, just so well implemented. And then the story, it's such an entertaining ride with such a range of emotion. When it comes to complaints though, I really have so few. As experiences go, it's one of the best 10 or so hours I've spent in a long time. Kept me hooked, it has a ton of charm, and its world is one I hope we see more of in the future because it is something special. It even packs in a secret ending, but that's going to be for you to uncover. An amazing 9 out of 10 from me. A few drops in the frame rate cannot hold this one back from greatness, and it deserves a home on as many Switches as possible. Exceptional job porting this one across. Will you be adding this one to the library then, or are you holding onto that cash? With that then, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. It helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.